Today, we celebrate the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. We celebrate Mary being conceived without sin. And we keep this in mind because, well, as Christmas is approaching, so often we're connecting it with the birth of Christ. But today, this feast celebrates Mary's conception. After all, remember, in the church calendar, we celebrate the birth of Mary on September 8th. And on this day, we remember that Mary was conceived without sin, that she might become the one who would bear the Christ into the world. And she was filled with special grace from God, that she might be without sin. When it came time for Mary to say yes to the angel's invitation to be the mother of the Christ, she said yes. She had been formed. She was sinless. Her life had been prepared. She was ready to say yes, having made a lifetime of choices up to that point to be faithful to God and be faith-filled with God. So we celebrate this Immaculate Conception Day. We honor Mary today because God favored her with a special grace. And Mary's decision, her saying yes to cooperate with God, changed our history even today and changes it for the years to come. Forever and ever, Mary's yes means that the Christ comes into the world, and Mary is that vessel that brings the Christ into the world, who changes the human family forever and ever. We think about that. Mary says yes. Yes to God's invitation. Yes to God's gift of grace. How about us? Think about our lives. We have also been graced by God. The experience of, say, receiving the Spirit in baptism, a deepening of that Spirit, the experience of confirmation, sharing in Jesus, in His body and blood, the Eucharist. God's grace, God's love, God's creation, all given to us. And what can we do, given all these graces, all this goodness from God, being formed by God and formed by our parents, formed by our families in faith? What can we do to be ready to co-create with God, to take God's creation and to build upon it as we do, as His disciples in this day, this time, this place? We have the chance to say yes to God too. Are you aware of the graces that you've been given, the graces you've been given in life? Perhaps you might reflect on your experience of confirmation. Has the Holy Spirit helped you discern your gifts, the graces you've received? And how might you best use those, exercise those gifts, utilize that grace in service of God and love of God, in service of neighbor, in love of neighbor? All these good things we are called to do. Have you ever thought about Mary's yes and realized that our yes in our day and time is important too? How are you thinking about your yes to God? How will it change your life? And how will our saying yes to God, all of us saying yes to God, change the life of our community, change the life of our parish and our families, change the life of our world? Mary's yes changed everything. Our yes makes a difference too. Blessings, everyone. Happy Immaculate Conception.